Opposition Leader Mark Golding. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us.
Hi. Am I on? Hello, Dionne.
You are indeed, Mr. Golding.
The House should meet, and that procedure was apparently followed. So we received a notice yesterday. The first notice we got was one saying that the bill that was going to be debated and passed today was a validation bill, a bill seeking to validate and indemnify the government and any officers and employees of the government for having collected all these fines, which apparently were not lawfully collected. Then at 7 o'clock in the evening, a bit after 7, another notice was sent out, this time with a different bill, a bill that was just going to amend the Act. And that is indeed the bill that was brought today. I don't know whether they intend to bring a validation bill. They didn't say that they intend to do that. Obviously, that was their original intent. But I think there are constitutional complications because there's a specific provision in the Constitution that doesn't allow the variation of criminal fines subsequent to the commission of the crime. And so since road traffic matters are in fact criminal matters, though normally of a very minor nature, I think that provision would possibly get in the way of any attempt to validate and indemnify, as is often done where tax measures are imposed without the proper legal arrangements being put in place.
Hold that thought for me, please, Mr. Golding. Let me just take the break, do a little bit of business. We're talking to Opposition Leader Mark Golding about the Traffic Act amendment. The amendment to the Traffic Act passed just now by the Senate, earlier passed by the House of Representatives. Stay tuned, soon come. Our WhatsApp number is 5535908. That's 876-553-5908. Give us your first name, give us your location. We're talking about the House of Representatives and the Senate having today passed the Road Traffic Amendment Act. And just before the break, Opposition Leader Mark Golding was saying that the apparent initial intention of the government to pass the bill to indemnify themselves against a claim which has been made in the Supreme Court that particular part of the bill never came to Parliament, and it was the amendment to the fines that came. And it's interesting the point you mentioned, that constitutional point, because that in fact was referred to on the program yesterday by Gavin Goff, the attorney who is representing the claimant in that particular matter. All right, so in relation to the Act, let's stick with what is before the Parliament then, and the amendment to the fines itself. The opposition has no problem with the idea then of lawfully amending the fines.
No, we're not objecting to the level of fines. Those are the fines that have been in effect, well, we thought, from 2006. That's 15 years now. So it's not that really. I mean, I think the problem really is that the new Road Traffic Act, which a lot of work went into, and it was in Parliament for several years, and it was passed in 2018, is still not in effect. And the regulations that are required to bring it into effect are not ready. We were told back in 2018 when the Act was passed that it would be ready in 3 months. And, the National Road Safety Council had a lot of input into that particular piece of legislation, and we have a problem with fatal accidents on the road. Over 300 Jamaicans die a year, and this is something that I feel strongly about because my father was actually the person who started the National Road Safety Council. It was his brainchild back in the day when they first introduced the seatbelt law, because as an orthopedic surgeon he had a strong interest in trying to reduce accidents on the road. And that legislation has a lot of things in it that are designed to make our roads safer, for not just for drivers, but for passengers and pedestrians. And for 3 years, it has been passed, but it's not yet in effect. So we have this absurd thing where the government was scurrying around in very short order to amend an act which has actually been repealed, but that repeal is not yet in effect because the 2018 Act, which repealed the old 1938 Act, is not brought into effect. So today we were amending an act which was supposed to have been repealed 3 years ago to put in place the proper legal arrangements to support the fines that have been collected since 2006 but were not lawfully imposed back then.
As a result of that, one of your opposition senators, Lambert Brown, had initially indicated that he wouldn't be supporting the bill to amend the Act because of that very reason, because the messy way in which all of this has unfolded, and he had said it's time to stop doing this, time to do things the right and proper way. So he's on his... I don't know how he eventually voted, because as I said, I'm on air when that came through, but he would be on his own with that one, though. Based on what you're saying.
I don't want to comment on what happened in the Senate because I haven't had a report yet on it. But the truth is that errors are sometimes made largely by the technical people in the system who may have who have a lot of work doing and sometimes errors occur, and of course the parliamentarians often take the blame for it. But quite frankly, anything that comes to Parliament is really, the tip of the iceberg. Most of the work takes place long before in the bureaucracy. And an error was made back in 2006 where the fines were increased by an order under the Provisional Collection of Tax Act, which was not an appropriate way of doing it, I believe. And that matters before the court. The court has not actually ruled on that yet, Dionne. But I believe the government agreed to an injunction to prevent those fines being imposed any longer until either the law is amended or the matter is heard in court and resolved. So it looks to me like I think the government is accepting that what took place back in 2006 is really not the correct procedure. And then those orders under the Provisional Collection of Tax Act only last 6 months at a time. It was never renewed in 2007. So the situation was left where even the order that was supporting the increase was allowed to lapse. Nothing was put in its place. And everybody has been proceeding on the basis that the fines were lawfully imposed when apparently they were not.
It must be at least a little embarrassing to the opposition, though, that this is a matter that has spanned administrations and, in fact, began with a PNP administration.